Okay, so a couple of videos ago, I know I promised you guys that I would make a no backup plans fashion. Sorry it took me so long. I'm actually working on a pretty long and pretty complicated video right now. I don't want to expose too much, but I did talk about it a couple of videos ago where I wanted to kind of go into like the origins of certain armor sets that Bungie gives us. And that video is taking me longer than I thought. So for now, let's go ahead and start going over some fashion builds for some of the new exotics that we got, like the no backup plans, and then whenever I finally get the other exotics for my warlock and my hunter, I will be making fashion builds for those as well, I promise. Okay, so for this armor set, I kind of already had something in mind. I wanted to make a Destiny 1 inspired Titan. A lot of you guys constantly talk about how you like Destiny 1 armor a lot more than Destiny 2 armor, and while arguments could be made for both sides, this time I definitely thought that, hey, let's go ahead and give them the Destiny 1 armor that they want. And I will say, before someone criticizes the stats on my Titan, if you happen to see them in the video, remember that this is a fashion channel and we don't really focus on stats. This is only a fashion build. As you can see in the background footage, it's just not what I use every day. And actually, if you do want to see what my Titan is currently rocking in his everyday life, go ahead and click on this video popping up right here. And don't forget to drop a like on this video, subscribe if you like your needs the way they are, if not, I'll bend them the other way, and go ahead and sit down, grab a snack, grab a drink, and now let's get to some no backup plan fashion. So this is my Destiny 1 inspired armor set, and I actually ended up using a lot of old armor sets that used to be in Destiny 1 just because we have so many of them in Destiny 2 now. And the reason I'm showing this off in the helm is because, as you guys know, if we go into the menus, no backup plans has this like neutral glow to it in the menus, and yeah, it doesn't match up here, but I'll let you know in game it does match up perfectly. So let's go ahead and see what I ended up using to make this set. So for the helmet, I used the classic hard case helm just because this helmet is so easy to work with, it's so easy to shade, and it just looks so damn good. It was one of the first things that I transmogged. For the shaders, I'm rocking Horizons Beyond on almost everything, except for the mark, which I'm rocking Ritualism, so that way I can achieve that like purple glow to match the no backup plans in game. And by the way, in case you guys didn't know, you can actually switch your subclass and it'll change the color of no backup plans in the game as well. So if you wanted to use that for maybe a different fashion set, if you wanted to make like a red glowed fashion set, you can do that as well. But back to the armor set. So of course, yeah, I'm using the no backup plan arms, and I really like the way that Horizons Beyond just kind of tints the cloth underneath no backup plans. It really matches up well with the Prodigal set. And the reason I ended up using the Prodigal set is because this armor, if you didn't know, actually was in Destiny 1. They straight up just ripped it out of the game and threw it in here. And you know what? I don't blame them. It was a good armor set. Like, not really the helmet. The helmet just kind of scares me because it has a face to it. But the actual chest plate is very neutral and it's very easy to work with. So yeah, these two puppies were from Destiny 1, and of course they're gonna match up perfectly together. So speaking of armor sets that were in Destiny 1, these Sunbreaker legs. Now these looked a little bit different in Destiny 1, well, a lot of different actually, but we still have them in Destiny 2, and they're still the Sunbreaker legs, and I like the way they looked with this. Now there are some alternatives that I was thinking about using. I ended up trying to use the Brave Titan Greaves. They don't look too different, and they still have that like hard edged kind of look to them, which is actually pretty nice. Another set that you could use with this is of course the Vault of Glass legs, if you really want to capture that Destiny 1 aesthetic, or of course you could actually use the Prodigal legs as well, and that's what they look like. They actually don't look too different from the Vault of Glass set. But yeah, that's also another choice in case you don't have the Sunbreaker set, which if you don't and you're a Titan main, what are you doing, man? And of course, another classic Destiny 1 armor piece, the Light of the Great Prism. It's one of the marks that I saw used so much in Destiny 1. I'm pretty sure if you raided, you had this mark. It was either this one or the Taken King one that looked like a bat wing. That one was also pretty cool. But a lot of you guys liked this mark back in the day, and for good reason. And like I said, I ended up using the Ritualism shader to capture that like purple glow to it. It doesn't fit perfectly with Horizons Beyond. It does have like a weird golden color to it, and these like pockets and this like belt color are a little bit off. But whenever you're like looking at it from far away, it doesn't matter too much, especially whenever you're actually in game and the glow just kind of overpowers everything. So I don't really see that as a big issue there. The other good thing about using this shader is it doesn't turn the whole entire mark purple, because if you do try to use other shaders with it or other purple shaders with it, the purple just tends to be like too much on it. Like look at that, that's a lot of purple. Like yes, we achieved the purple glow right here, but we also have like a lot of purple here, and it just doesn't look good. And you kind of see that problem whenever you try to use like other purple shaders. So that's why I thought Ritualism was the best choice here. So now that we talked about my armor, so let's go ahead and talk about armor alternatives that you can use in case you don't have some of these armor pieces, or you want to just use something else because you don't like what I'm wearing. So for the helmets, I did talk about the Prodigal helmet and how this one was also just straight up pulled from Destiny 1. Now it did look a little bit different in Destiny 1. I don't think it had this like nose thing here, but it still pretty much looks the same. And I genuinely kind of like the shape of the helmet. The only thing that bothers me is the face, but if you can get past that, then that's a good choice. Now, if you don't really want to rock that because you're already rocking the Prodigal helmet, you could just try out any of the like new vendor armor. So like this armor set, the Calamity Rig, or the Cinder Pinion, or the Phobos Warden helmet. They're all basically the same thing, and it looks pretty good with this chestplate. It's a very neutral and easy to work with helmet. Of course, we're not going to talk about alternatives for the arms just because we are just trying to make these work. So if you guys do have any alternatives for the arms in case you don't want to rock them, go ahead and comment that down below. For the chest plate, armor alternatives for this one are actually pretty damn easy. If you want something a lot more like modern, you could go for a Pathfinder's chest plate. I actually really like this chest plate. A lot of people actually really like this chest plate, and I can see why. It's like thin, it's easy to work with, and it has like a basic armor plate here in the center while still looking pretty new and classy. I also just like these like little antenna here on the side. I feel like that really brings out the character of this chest plate. So yeah, that's a pretty good choice. Now, if you do want to try something else, you could try the Lucian Knight plate. It does add a lot more like complexity to this, and it does start looking a lot more different. You're really kind of abandoning the whole like Destiny 1 style of armor, but I really do like the intricate design of this chest plate. I will say, if you're trying to use this chest plate though, I would probably switch out the legs. The Sunbreaker legs don't look bad with it, but I feel like they don't really match theme wise. So if you're going to use that chest plate, I would actually recommend that you end up rocking the Meridian Constellation Greaves, just because they do really have like kind of the same design elements. Like you do have all of the like little swirls. They don't match up perfectly, but they're still a good pair of legs, and they're still very thin. Now, speaking of leg alternatives, don't really use the Meridian Constellation if you're not going to use that Northlight chestplate. So if you're just trying to switch out the Sunbreaker legs, go ahead and try the Hard Case Stompers. Everybody should have these, and they're still a good fit for this. Or you can also try rocking something like the Anti-Extinction Greaves, although that white line does bother me a little bit, but the general shape of them is pretty good. Now, if that white stripe does bother you a little bit too much, you could try rocking some of the vendor armor sets. Like I said, the Calamity Rig, the Phobos Warden, and the Cinder Pinion Greaves. Those are all really good choices if you don't want to rock the Anti-Extinction Greaves or the Sunbreaker stuff. They still have like a lot of hard edges like the rest of the armor set, so they end up fitting pretty well. Now, the mark is going to be a lot harder. We don't have a lot of marks that have like a lot of holographic stuff on them. The only one that I could really find as a alternative would be the Contender mark from the Guardian games. That will make you have that like strong purple glow to it that'll match with the no backup plans. Now, if you don't have those, I can't really recommend anything else. One mark that you could try would be the Starcross mark, just because it is very thin and out of the way, and it doesn't really clash with the rest of the armor set. Now, I will say you will have to change this back to being Horizons Beyond just so everything does match a little bit better. Only use the Ritualism shader if you're really going for the like purple glow without messing up the rest of the set. Now, something that I do need to talk about is that a lot of you have been using the Garden of Salvation armor sets, and while they do match up perfectly in your menus, They don't really match perfectly whenever you start getting into the game, like I was talking about earlier. These do change color according to your subclass, and you know what doesn't change colors? These Garden of Salvation armor sets. This just stays blue and that's it. Like, you can literally go around changing the color of the whole entire thing and that stays blue. And not only that, but this like armor is like very roughed up and it just looks kind of ugly to me. If you do like that look, go ahead, and if you don't mind the glow not really matching up, go ahead as well. Although I would recommend that you then go and change your subclass to the Arc subclass. That way you do have that blue glow. So if you're going to use that just for the sake of fashion, that's what I would recommend. The blues don't match up perfectly, but they match up enough. And I almost forgot, let's go ahead and talk about shader alternatives as well. Now, I couldn't really find too many shaders that worked with the purple glow. One of them that did come to mind immediately was actually the Amrita's Dream. That way you still have the purple glow here, and your mark still matches the rest of your set. I also really like how this one just kind of adds that like purple stripe there to kind of match the rest of the purple glow. I'll go ahead and show you what this looks like in the game also. So if you're trying to look for a like brighter color instead of using that like dark Horizons Beyond, that's also a very good choice. Another one that comes to mind is actually one that I kind of skipped over whenever I chose the Ritualism shader. That one's actually going to be Amethyst Veil. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to cringe just at me naming this shader because it is basically an all black shader and a lot of you do use it, but it really does fit with this armor set. It has that like neutral black color and it does add a nice purple glow to the mark. In case some of you were wondering why I didn't choose to use Amethyst Veil with the Horizons Beyond, is it just ended up looking really off to have like a really dark mark and a like really like brownish tint armor set. So that's why I ended up using the Ritualism shader instead. But if you're going to go ahead and use all Amethyst Veil, it's a very good choice and you look really stealthy, almost like a Halo ODST. But of course I couldn't actually use that shader, one, because I know I would be criticized over using such a basic shader, but oh man, does it look stealthy and sick, am I right? Also, I mean, I just like Horizons Beyond, to be honest with you. I used to use that shader all the time. Now, if you do want to achieve that same like color that Horizons Beyond has, Abyssinian Gold is also a very good choice. That way you still have that like brownish, goldish, grayish color there. I will say that you still have to rock the Ritualism shader there. That way you can keep that mark purple. You can't just use Abyssinian Gold on everything because, as you saw, it just straight up makes it red. Now, if you do want to rock Abyssinian Gold on everything and you want to keep that red color, of course you could just go over here and rock that Solar subclass. They're not going to be exactly the same color just because that is such a red shader. But it's still not a bad choice if you want to rock the Solar subclass with these arms. And just like that, we've reached the end of the video. Go ahead and leave me a comment down below on which video I should make next, either the Nothing Manacles or the Radiant Dance Machines. You can also leave me a comment telling me how I did and if you would change anything about my build. Don't forget to also drop me a like before you go, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And lastly, consider joining our Discord server if you like Destiny 2 fashion and you want to participate in any fashion contest, or you just want to show off your look. I will be seeing you guys in the next video, but in the meantime, feel free to click on any of the videos showing up in the end card right now. And Guardians, as always, stay beautiful.